Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Genesis Hay Krick, your host, and today we're diving into one of my favorite topics. We're going to be talking about productivity, but it's not in the way that you think. So many of us fall into the trap of working harder because we believe it's the only way to succeed. This is so not true. It's a myth. So today we're going to be debunking common productivity myths that are actually holding you back. And I also wanted to take a little bit of time to explore counterintuitive hacks that'll help you to work smarter and not harder. So, my goal for you is by the end of this episode, you'll walk away with a fresh perspective on what it really means to be productive instead of what culture and society tells us it's supposed to be. And really, why hustle culture isn't the key to success. There are so many different ways that we can be productive, and what works for us is unique to what is important to us. So let's dive into these myths today. I have 4 myths that I'm going to be sharing with you. The first one is working harder means getting more done. What is the reality of this? More hours don't equal better results. And here's why. Your brain has a limited capacity for deep work each day. And the thing is, you just really have to assess what is the time during the day that's going to work for me based on my energy levels, based on how you operate, based on your biology, your chemistry. We are all a little bit different. Studies show us that after 4 to 6 hours of focused work, productivity declines rapidly. So if that in fact is true, how can we be productive all day, every day, if we're not focusing on the right tasks that light us up? What unfortunately ends up happening is the more that we work, more hours equals more fatigue, more mistakes, and less creativity. And for myself, I'm all about getting into that creative space and allowing myself the opportunity to innovate and be able to think outside the box and do things different than I typically do. I think that there's so much significance in taking that time for creativity. So, what we want to do is work in 90-minute focused sprints, followed by intentional breaks. And what we can do is by making sure that we are taking the time to do this, when we focus on that sprint, it allows us to really be laser focused. So, laser focused meaning that we are completely dialed into exactly what it is that we're doing. We're not being deviated, we're not being distracted. And then it helps us prioritize the rest of the day and what's going to ultimately be most productive. Myth number 2 is multitasking, which makes you more efficient. Multitasking does not do that. The reality is that your brain isn't built for multitasking. It's built for task switching. So moving from one thing to the next in a sequential order. Why? Every time you switch tasks, your brain takes 20 to 25 minutes to refocus. And this is called attention residue. I was doing some research and I'm like, this is so fascinating because what we end up doing is we're kind of one foot in and one foot out in every aspect of what we're doing. So that makes us make more mistakes. It makes us slow down. It creates more mental fatigue. And so, what can we do about this? What is the key to really reframing this? We want to use time blocking methods that allow us to schedule dedicated time for deeper work. Whether we're working on meetings or we're doing admin tasks, scheduling out that time is crucial. And then another thing is single tasking challenge, which is setting out a timer for 30 to 60 minutes and doing one task at a time, not a bunch of tasks. So this allows us to not only focus more clearly on what we're doing, but then we can eliminate distractions. Because what do distractions do? They cause us to be more focused on everything else around us so that we can't center in on what the task is at hand. The third myth is that you need to wake up every day at 5 a.m. to be successful. Now, I personally love working out. I get up at 4:30 in the morning, 4 to 5 times a week. However, on the weekends, I'm sleeping in. And I also switch it up from time to time. If I'm realizing that I need more time because my body is at a point where I'm extra stressed this week for whatever reason, or there's just more things going on, then I'm going to reassess my schedule. And we just have to look at, for us personally, what is our biological clock? How do we utilize our energy? How do we go throughout our day and feel filled up? What is it that really motivates us and gets us excited about taking action? And when we can assess that, when we understand that, then we can identify what are our peak productivity hours. And when we can do that, we can track when we feel most focused, and then we can schedule the important tasks then. We also want to think about prioritizing consistent sleep quality over forced early wake ups. Now, I personally thrive, like I said, on waking up early. Like I love waking up at 4:30 even though it's challenging. However, when we are so tired to the point where we can't accomplish our goals and we're just dragging with everything that we're doing, that's obviously that's counterproductive. So we want to be able to create our own unique blueprint that's going to work for us. Myth number 4 is being busy equals being productive. So the reality of this is that busy doesn't mean effective. Why? Because so many people spend their day reacting to emails and meetings and minor tasks instead of working on what truly moves the needle. And for me, what I've realized is that true productivity comes from being intentional and having intentional action and not just putting more and more and more into my schedule. What I did when I started getting super duper busy and my schedule was going haywire, getting completely out of control, I started using the MIT method, which is most important task. So identifying 1 to 3 key tasks every single day that actually drive results. We want to make sure that we have those tasks identified. And as I've said before, scale of 1 to 10, how important is this? We want to make sure that we're focusing on the progress of the task, the progress of the goals over perfection. The more we put in there, the more overwhelmed they're going to feel naturally. And then we want to also set clear boundaries. So saying no to the things that don't align with your goals. There's going to be a lot of things that come in constantly that are going to demand your attention. And you just have to assess, does this really make sense right now? Now, the counterintuitive productivity hacks that I wanted to share with you today, I thought were really fascinating, really interesting. So, what I've been learning more about is just how we can stay focused, how long our attention span is actually going to work. And the 52-17 rule means that you work for 52 minutes and you take a 17-minute break for optimal focus. And so if you're blocking out an entire hour for work, then think about it like this. 52 of those minutes are going to be solely dedicated to that deep work. And then you are going to take 17 minutes. Perhaps you're going to want to go out for a walk and just take a step back completely from your work. You also want to make sure that you create a not to do list. I love this one. So, listing out time wasting habits such as social media, excessive meetings, perfectionism, and eliminating those things from your list so that you are making sure that there is things that you are concentrating on. Like, this is not going to be a part of my day. I'm making sure that I'm being intentional about that. Because if we're not intentional about what we don't want, then those things are going to creep into the equation at some point. So making sure you know what you do want versus you know what you don't want. And then for me, I'm just always assessing every day. Every day is a little bit different. So we have to look at how is this going to affect my quality of life? How is this going to affect me mentally, physically, emotionally? How is it going to affect my relationships? And just recognizing that we are in complete control of the decisions that we make for ourselves. We get to decide what is important to us. So let's let go of the myths and start working smarter and not harder. And if today's episode resonated with you, I would encourage you to take a screenshot, share it on social media, and tag me. And definitely don't forget to subscribe and leave a review, because what it's going to do is help me to reach more people just like you. And until next time, I want to encourage you to stay intentional and make the most of every moment.